Listen, guys, we all have made mistakes before. We all kind of go through and say, hey, we think this prediction is something that might be right, and we end up being wrong. We all look at a situation and say, all right, maybe I was over analyzing there, or maybe I didn't know what I was talking about there. But one thing that certain content creators and fans, especially people on Twitter, don't want to realize is that they're wrong about The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. It's just something that they're wrong about, and they refuse to look at the facts because they feel that since they're not getting what they want, which is Nintendo talking about the game a lot more, showing more footage, showing more things, that therefore it's going to result into some type of sales paradox or problem with the sales. And once again, this is not trying to come off as, snobby or trying to come off as pretentious. I'm just being honest here, and I'm telling you guys the truth about The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and what this game is going to do, because there is clear evidence and there is clear actual stuff that everybody right now can go look at that clearly shows The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is not only one of the most anticipated games of this year, it's also one of the best selling games of this year already with pre-orders. Like, if you look at what Nintendo's done with previous games and the positioning and if they've marketed the game or not to your liking, everything lines up with if they were doing that with Tears of the Kingdom. This would be the results, but they're not doing what people want with the marketing, at least what some people want with the marketing, yet we're still getting the same results with the pre-orders and with everything. Now, we're going to go over a number of different things here that show exactly what I'm talking about, and then I'll give you guys a little bit of an insight on the mind-blowing information when it comes to the numbers that I have with a few sources out there at retail. So the first thing that we're going to look at here, which I've talked about before, but I want to just make sure that I get my point across with this, and trust me, you're going to want to stick around for every bit of this. Now, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, right? You're looking at it when it comes to the pre-orders in Japan. It's already surpassed The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild at the COMG. That is one major retail chain in Japan. It's a small slice, but once again, it is a slice. But you would expect that, right? The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, when that game first launched, there wasn't as many Nintendo Switches out there. Obviously, you're not going to have as many pre-orders as when the system has matured 6-7 years later. But once again, already well before, we still have about another good 8 weeks plus or something like that till The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom comes out. It's already surpassed the total, which had the biggest launch, I think, in Japanese history for the Legend of Zelda franchise, or it was right up there. So pretty cool stuff already there. Now, that's just Japan. Let's go and let's move over to the US. So one of the biggest things, especially with the traditional franchise like The Legend of Zelda or Mario, you're going to get a large number of physical sales. Nintendo still has a massive physical sales audience. So if you can go on something like Amazon, one of the biggest distributors of video games in the world, especially here in the US, Nintendo's largest market, being at the top of the Amazon sales charts is a big deal. We've seen a direct correlation with games that are at the top of the sales charts for a long period of time, with bestsellers and also new releases do incredibly well. We saw that with Splatoon 3. We've seen it with many other games when it comes to recent hits for Nintendo. And if you look at Amazon right now, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom on the Nintendo Switch, bestsellers 2023, already the top game. Bestsellers and new releases, so games that are coming out soon, already the top game. So it's back to back, regardless of what you look at with sales metrics, it's already up there. Once again, this is indisputable evidence that people are excited and ready for The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. This argument that people aren't excited, or people aren't willing to buy the game, or people don't know about it, is directly refuted with it being the most pre-ordered and best-selling game at major retail chains across the world. You can't tell me it wouldn't have done as well, or it's not going to do as well, because you simply think that, because you're not getting what you want or when you want it, when there is no actual evidence outside of, well, my friend doesn't know about the game. Okay, well, whatever. Anybody can say that. We got to look at actual metrics, because if Nintendo was actually marketing it more, whatever the case is, it would have all the same metrics that it has right now. Number one on Amazon, number one on most requested, number one on all these different things. So it would still be like that. There is not enough evidence to show that there's some random people aren't going to know about the game or aren't going to buy the game, when it's doing everything that a number one game would do if people are hyped and excited about it. But wait, there's more. We've got to get into it more here, guys. Of course, in Japan, Amazon Japan, once again, still big on physical on Amazon Japan, that is the #1 game on there as well, multiple months before the launch. If you look at any type of metrics for most anticipated, so that's if people even know about the game. Of course, the Game Awards last year, it won most anticipated game. Also on Famitsu, it's been the most anticipated game with the most votes there. So people are clearly tuned in. And on top of that, all of this free promotion that is going out there with people saying they're not talking about it enough is letting people know more about the game. So I think it's time that people start being honest with themselves when it comes to The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Let's stop making up these facades or stop making up these things that don't actually exist with the information that's presented out there. Now, if The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom was charting below other games, if it was charting underneath other games like Splatoon when that launched, if it wasn't #1 on Amazon, if it wasn't the most anticipated, if it didn't have pre-orders that was greatly surpassing other games out there, then I completely understand why people would be saying these type of things. I completely understand where some of these comments would be coming from, but you can't look at all of this available information publicly and sit here and come to the conclusion that it's not going to do as well, or there's something that's holding it back, or there's a problem when it comes to the casual market, or any other type of stuff like that. Because once again, it's #1 in all of these different metrics that you would usually apply to a game that you felt was known or was being marketed enough. There's nothing that you can sit here and say in the metrics before launch that shows that. And that's, I think, the problem that I have just a bit with people on Twitter and with also some videos that I've seen and other things. People are making up. They're almost like projecting like, well, since I think people don't think this way, or since I'm not getting enough of it, that's actually what's happening. But no, that's not what's happening based off the information that's out there. And I think that it's putting out a little bit of a disingenuous thought process and view of it. Now, once again, this is not to knock, or this is not to hate on people's opinion that there isn't more. Heck, I would love for there to be like maybe like another trailer or like another footage or something like that with more information, which I still think that we're going to get that. I don't think that's not coming, or I don't think that's not happening. But to sit here and act like people don't know about it and it's not going to do as well, nothing really says that. Now, let me give you guys a perfect example of this, because some of you guys might be asking, what are you talking about? Like, where are all these people saying this? There's quite a bit. There's quite a bit when it comes down to it, and I've seen it. So for example, there was this random comment. There was more like a thread when it comes to like thousands of people talking about The Legend of Zelda on Twitter, and one person said, it's weird how hardcore fans are saying it's been perfect since they don't need to see more. You do realize the marketing campaign isn't really aimed at you, right? Nintendo knows you're buying the game. The issue is casual gamers not knowing this game is 2 months away. So I find comments like this to be hilarious, because where is the evidence when it comes to any of the metrics that casual gamers don't know about The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom? There is none. There is nothing that you can sit there and say, maybe outside of you know somebody or something like that, but there are no metrics that show that people don't know about it. Casual gamers pre-order games too. Casual gamers look and are anticipated for games too. The only thing is that casual gamers aren't going on Twitter to sit there and say they're not marketing enough, or they're not showing me this or that. Casual gamers don't do that. What casual gamers usually do is, if they're excited for a game, because trust me, I know a casual core type of gamer. My brother, he's not all invested into all of this YouTube and videos and all this different type of stuff. But when a dope game comes out that he likes, he's like, okay, cool. People are talking about it. Reviews are there. He's seeing the game a bit more. Then he goes up there and buys the game. He's not all invested like some of these people. So trust me, those type of casual gamers are the ones who are helping to pre-order The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Those type of casual gamers are the ones that are going to hear about it when it launches and go out to GameStop or go to Best Buy or go on Amazon or go to Walmart and just pick up the game casually, and not sitting here worried about something that they can't even quantify when it comes to it beforehand. They're not doing that. And I think that there's a lot of people that are on Twitter, there's a lot of content creators that sit there and think that they have some type of prediction for people that they don't know based off of 1 or 2 examples with something. That's just not how casual gamers move. That's just not how it works. And I think that the biggest thing to look at here when it comes to The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and Nintendo is like the king of selling first-party games. Who does a better job of selling first-party games than Nintendo. Nintendo sells more than Microsoft and Sony. I would think probably even combined with this generation. Look at their game sales. Look at the track record. And I find it hilarious that people think that Nintendo doesn't know what is going on with their own game. Now, I feel personally, if this game was having terrible pre-orders and people didn't know about it, and Nintendo knew that, if they got metrics that people aren't locked in or tuned into what's going on, they would have already shifted what they were doing at this point. But what they're doing has been already just fine, because the metrics are showing that large swaths of people are pre-ordering and are excited and looking forward to the game. And once again, you guys, when it comes to the core gamers, thinking one thing or another, are marketing the game for everybody else by constantly talking about the game and constantly talking about how I'm not getting this or that. Now, I do want to get into one more thing, which I have an inside source. I talked about this on one of my podcasts recently, or my streams recently, but there's some information out there that I got from my sources because I have some friends in distribution with some major retail chains with video games, and they tell me kind of how things are moving a bit, pre-orders, what they're getting. And apparently one person told me that it is mind-blowing how much volume that they're getting ready for The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So since I'm hearing stuff like that, and you combine it with the actual metrics or facts and stuff that we can see with Amazon, with Japan, with the anticipation boards, with all these votings and what people are saying, clearly, I mean, Twitter trending, whatever type of metrics that you want to use, YouTube views, content, there is nothing that says this game isn't going to be anything but a smash hit. Now, I have seen some people kind of tell me, oh, well, we don't really know how well it's going to do. Like, it might not do as well because The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild sold nearly 30 million over the course of the generation. But that doesn't really mean anything. That doesn't really mean anything at all. If anything, we've seen with Nintendo's big games that come out with another one after a bigger install base, we see that they do even better. So let me give you guys two major examples here of Nintendo's bigger franchises. You have a game like Pokemon Sword and Shield to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. The next big Pokemon game, one of them came out in 2019, so near the beginning of the Switch. The last one came out recently, near the end of the Switch. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet has already sold 20 million units plus, almost getting to the 25 million units that Pokemon Sword and Shield is at. And it did that in a month and a half. That's called install base, anticipation, and hype. Now, if you look at Splatoon 2 to Splatoon 3, Splatoon 2, very similar situation to Breath of the Wild to Tears of the Kingdom. One of them at the very beginning of the Switch's launch, another one at the very end, or more towards the end of the life of the system. Splatoon 2 sold around 12 million, 13 million units. Splatoon 3 sold around 10 million units plus in the first number of months. So 10 million units there. So this whole argument or this whole talk like, oh, well, it's not going to be the same because they had the whole course of the life to sell. No, that doesn't really mean anything when you have a massive install base of people, casual fans, core fans, and everyone just getting ready to play that next big game. That's why install base is so important. And that's why fans, when it comes to just right now with the metrics, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is outpacing Splatoon 3 when it comes to when it was at the top of the boards and its sales rankings. Right now, it's definitely outpacing it, at least here in the West. Japan, maybe not quite as much, but in the West, it's doing considerably better pre-order and sales ranking wise than Splatoon 3 did. So I would expect The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom to not only surpass what Splatoon 3 did, but exceed it by a large margin based off of the pre-order metrics and what we're seeing this far out from launch. And on top of that, Tears of the Kingdom is just going to be a higher ranked game. It's going to rank way higher. It's going to just sell better. Tears of the Kingdom Zelda is a bigger franchise than Splatoon at this point. So all of this stuff that I'm seeing from people online, I would understand it, and everyone's allowed for their opinion and everything, but there really isn't any metrics to back up a lot of that stuff. It's just, I think, and I'm going to ignore all the mountains of evidence that say otherwise. But once again, we'll see very shortly here. Maybe I'm wrong on it, maybe not, but the game is coming out in about a month and some odd weeks at this point, so we'll see. But something tells me, based off of everything that we're seeing here, that it's going to be a monster launch and it's going to continue all the way to the next Switch. And then when the next Switch comes out, it's going to be on that one and people are going to pick it up on there, and it's going to continue being a monster selling game from there on out. But once again, we will see. What do you guys think about this? Check out some of my other previous Legend of Zelda videos right here on screen where I talk about what some people are saying about the marketing and the sales and other things like that beforehand, and it's into more. So check it out. I think it's pretty cool. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. We'll see you for the next video. Peace.